Ladies and gentlemen, if you think this segment is hyperbolic or the title isn't accurate, this is the New York Times, the editorial board today, August 26, 2022. Donald Trump is not above the law, although Hillary and Hunter are, and other Democrats, but let's just continue reading. Hit subscribe. Apparently he's going to get indicted, ladies and gentlemen. Let's read this. Mr. Trump's unprecedented assault on the integrity of American democracy requires a criminal investigation. So, there was a special counsel. He gave millions of pages of documents. Everyone around him was investigated. Mueller did not indict or charge or prosecute anybody for conspiring alongside foreign intelligence agents, or he never found any evidence that Trump was installed by the Kremlin. That was a complete fabricated hoax. The Steele dossier was literally purchased and funneled through the United States government by his direct political rivals. The Durham Probe Special Counsel now has a trial in October for one of the informants or sources that lied to the Bureau, but also worked with a public relations executive linked to both Bill and Hillary. You can't make this up, and the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party paid FEC violations for purchasing a Steele dossier with campaign donations as Bernie Sanders was being cheated, and Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigned and then promptly joined Madam Secretary's campaign. And I pray every day for a Hillary Trump 2024. We need that. Obviously, I'd vote for Trump. But anyway, this is the New York Times. Not one Trump supporter. The New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, The New Yorker, The Atlantic, Mother Jones, The Nation, BuzzFeed, New Yorker, New York Magazine, Vanity Fair, Esquire, anyone who works for Stephen Colbert or Jimmy Kimmel or Saturday Night Live or anyone at Twitter, not one supporter of Trump. And these are the people who talk about democracy. Anyway, half the electorate, almost half, chose Trump 2 years ago, and he defeated Clinton in 2016 like I said he would. Nobody else believed that. This was when I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I now support a President Trump who presided over record highs in household median income in 2019. Record high in household median income. Morally superior, highly educated, almost always apoplectic liberal Democrat. Record low in poverty, according to CNN. What is wrong with a record high in household median income in 2019 and a record low in poverty? What is wrong with hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs and Trump getting us out of quagmires throughout the world in terms of foreign policy? What's wrong with that? What did this man do to you, morally superior, highly educated, wonderful liberal Democrat? But anyway, the disturbing details of his post-malfeasance. The disturbing details of his malfeasance, meticulously assembled by the January committee. Meticulously assembled, yes, he threw his dinner at the wall. Leaves little doubt that Mr. Trump sought to subvert the Constitution and overturn the will of the American people. He went through his attorneys. Democrats tried to overturn more states. That's according even to PolitiFact. And he went, and Democrats were jumping for joy that he lost every court case, or almost every court case. Before, we won't even get into that. Anything Trump claims never gets investigated. Anything Democrats claim about Trump, they could accuse him of having a romantic relationship with somebody on Mars, and they would then subpoena every Martian who's ever existed, intergalactic congressional letter. You have to come and testify. And then, they investigate all their absurd claims. But anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel and H.A. Goodman's other channel. Become a member, ladies and gentlemen. Become a member if you're new. Hit subscribe. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is in the description. And give a super thanks if you like this segment, ladies and gentlemen. That would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. The president The Justice Department is reportedly examining Mr. Trump's conduct, including his role in trying to overturn and taking home classified documents. So let's talk about classified data. Clinton had top secret intelligence on private servers siphoned outside of the U.S. government for 4 years. Trump wanted a library. God forbid, he's a menace to society now. If Attorney General Merrick Garland and his staff conclude there is sufficient evidence to establish Mr. Trump's guilt on a serious charge in a court of law, they must indict him too. The New York Times board is aware that in deciding how Mr. Trump should be held accountable under the law, it is necessary to consider not just whether criminal prosecution would be warranted, but whether it would be wise. Okay. If he committed a crime, then there's no reason not to indict. But if he was a Democrat, it would be a different story. So what are we talking about? Comey ripped apart the rule of law, and Democrats were jumping for joy. Didn't care about the rule of law when he said, oh, well, it's true that there were violations of the law, but we couldn't find intent with Clinton. They could find violations of the law. It's within his speech. I did 2 segments on that recently. It's within his July, 5th or 6th, 2016 press conference, the greatest theatrical event in U.S. political history. And we couldn't find intent. Really? There were private servers, secret private servers, even President Obama didn't know, but we couldn't find intent. Oh, okay. No, inherent to owning a secret server, inherent to owning a secret anything is the intent to hide. Anyway, no American president has ever been criminally prosecuted after leaving office. Blah, blah, blah. The risks of political escalation are obvious. How many churches were burnt to the ground after Dobbs? Not one article condemning that from the New York Post, from my understanding. $1 to $2 billion in property damage, 14,000 arrests, and mainly 19 lives lost, according to Wikipedia, that summer, 2 years ago. And I support the cause. I support why people were demonstrating 100%. But you can't. But you can't cause that much carnage and chaos and mayhem and claim to be just and moral. Yeah, most were peaceful. Most people were peaceful, obviously. But how is that a rebuttal or any justification of $1 to $2 billion in property damage, 19 lives lost, 14,000 arrests without any condemnation from the New York Times? By the way, the New York Times has not even one person supporting Trump. Not one. You can't find one person. You can't find one columnist. Oh, that's right. Because there's nobody supporting Trump in most publications. Now you have, of course, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 very good conservative publications, excellent conservative publications. But my God almighty, you can't find one? You can't find one Trump supporter? Okay, anyway. There is substantial risk that if the Justice Department does prosecute Trump, future presidents, whether Mr. Trump himself or someone of his ilk, could misuse the president to punish political rivals. Translation, they might go after actual crimes of Democrats. We wouldn't want that, would we? Wouldn't want that. I mean, but maybe we just have to take that risk. Then you have Mr. Garland has been deliberate, methodical, and scrupulous in his leadership of the Justice Department's investigation. Really? Scrupulous. Oh, okay. Trump was negotiating with the National Archives and the Justice Department, and he just sends in the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And the search warrant, we're finding out, has nothing to do with classified data. It had to do with Trump actually just owning documents because he was a former president. And it basically allowed the agents to pick up anything they wanted. And here's a man, Trump, who's been accused of everything under the sun without any evidence, and every single time Democrats failed to find evidence to indict Trump, They lose credibility, but also the rule of law is ripped apart and our democracy suffers. Because why don't you just focus on policies? You don't like record low poverty and record highs in household median income, record lows in unemployment, and real wages up while real wages are down. We're in a recession now, 2 quarters of negative growth. Only with mashed potato brains Joe in charge. It's 2 quarters of negative growth. And we're really not in a recession. We had $10 trillion pumped into the economy. $6 trillion in fiscal stimulus. And $4 or $5 trillion in monetary stimulus. It's not going to happen overnight. I've been predicting in everything I said, recession, September of 2021 and October of 2021, I was published in the Federalist. Read the article. The article's below in the description section and pinned comment. What do you expect? It's going to take a little time. Unfortunately, Michael Burry, Nouriel Roubini, to a lesser extent, nobody knows who I am. It's going to get worse, unfortunately. So as I beg for Super Chat or in my live streams or support via Patreon, save your money because it's going to get much worse. Yet, it is a far greater risk to do nothing when action is called for. Aside from letting Mr. Trump escape punishment, doing nothing to hold him accountable for his actions in the months leading up to January sets an irresistible precedent for future presidents. Why not attempt to stay in power by any means necessary, or use the power of the office to enrich oneself? Enrich oneself? Are you kidding me? You have Hunter with emails saying, how can you use your influence on the company's behalf? You have Hunter and Joe who never made $1 outside of politics in their life. Politics, this is Tammany Hall. You can look. Honest graft. The Plunkett of Tammany Hall. Read it. It's honest graft. They've been doing this, Democrats, since the 1800s. And this is nothing new. The foundation, Hillary's foundation, 20% of U.S. uranium capacity, President Obama, according to Snopes, could have vetoed. He did not. Why do you think he did not? Anyway, then you have, even now, the former president continues to spread lies. Oh, my God. Yeah, you spread lies for 4 years about him being installed by the Kremlin. Any apology to him? No. No, absolutely not. Why would you apologize to him? My God. Mr. Trump's actions as a public official, like no other since attacked the heart of our system of government. Blah. He used the power of his office to support the rule of law. No, he didn't. Otherwise, he would have been indicted. Maybe everyone against him attacked the heart of our system of government. Maybe the people writing this are actually the ones subverting democracy. Could it be? He used the power. If we hesitate to call those actions of their perpetrator criminal, then we are saying he's above the law. No. The law stipulates that you need to prove a crime. This is not rocket science. Prove a crime. You've had 6 years. You found nothing. Now, you can indict him. Go in and indict him on something he didn't do. He'll win the trial, and then he'll run forever. And then you'll have Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. And Democrats have created a Pandora's box of never-ending millions and millions of voters for anyone named Trump because of their treachery, because of their corruption, because of their blatant propaganda, because of their illogical and irrational claims. He subverts democracy. He commits crimes. Then prove it. You have had 6 years. You've accused him of everything under the sun. Prove it. My God. No one should revel in the prospect of this or any former president facing criminal prosecution. Oh, gee, that's so moral of you, New York Times. I love you, New York Times. You're the best. Mr. Trump's actions have brought shame on one of the world's old... What? I think the actions of the New York Times editorial board has brought shame. Mr. Trump's actions have brought shame on one of the world's oldest democracies and destabilized its future. Yeah, we had record highs in our household median income. We were a fantastic economy. Foreign policy was great. He actually limited... removed our involvement in numerous quagmires. Oh my God, he's so horrible. Even justice, this is hilarious, even justice before the law will not erase this stain. The stain is your never-ending contempt for a man who apparently hasn't committed a crime. Nor will prosecuting Trump fix the structural problems that led to the greatest crisis in American democracy. Do you have one Trump supporter? The New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, CNN, Stephen Colbert, Late Night. You have one Trump supporter at Twitter? You have one? One? And then you talk about democracy. You have almost half the electorate voted for Trump. You have one Trump supporter. People who pontificate about democracy, not one Trump supporter works at the New York Times. Not one. What does that tell you? You mean to say that you can't have a rational viewpoint to vote for Trump? First president to allocate more, he allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, made the funding permanent. We had hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. Like I said, we had household median incomes at record highs. We had a record low in poverty, the lowest poverty rate on record since 1959, since the poverty rate was being recorded. Got us out of numerous war zones. First president to step foot in North Korea. Doha Agreement got us out of our longest running counterinsurgency conflict. Abraham Accords, huge development in the Middle East. I mean, it's like, what did mashed potato brains Joe accomplish in 2 years, aside from recession and a geopolitical nightmare in numerous regions, especially Europe? And President Obama, aside from destroying Libya, tell me the grandiose, amazing accomplishment. You could say the ACA, fine, but other than that, what foreign policy actually destroyed a country? And then he allowed his Secretary of State to have servers connected to the U.S. government, siphoning classified data outside the U.S. government. Oh, wow. What an amazing, wonderful, example of democracy. Give me a break. Are you kidding me? What did Trump do to you? He broke these people. He broke their will, their spirit, their soul, their psyche, their hearts, their mind. He broke everything. He doesn't care about their condemnation. He is a huge problem because he exposes their corruption, which is vast. Is he perfect? No. But are they perfect? Far from it. In fact, the epicenter of corruption is the Democratic Party. But most people, or I should say, people on the left don't see that. You vote Biden, I'm fine with that. Go and vote for a recession. You want to vote Trump or DeSantis or a Trump Republican, you're voting for a better economy. We had a better economy under Trump. People say, how could you vote for Trump? It's like, look at the people who don't like him. The Lincoln Project, who want never-ending wars. I'm against that. You want to be for that type of foreign policy? I think that's immoral. But then again, I don't care what you do. It's the Democrats it's the people who are on the left that disown friends and family because they lack the intelligence or the character to have a civil debate or discussion. The cognitive dissonance. They walk around with a shield of cognitive dissonance where they can't actually accept the corruption in their own political party. Cheating Bernie Sanders. Fabricating an entire Red Scare, McCarthy-era Russian hoax. And they have nothing to show for it. Accusing Trump of everything under the sun. Why hasn't he been indicted? They might indict him, actually. Just knock him out of 24. It still won't work. They'll probably lose to an indicted Trump. Because the people know that when almost all of journalism, all of late night, every former intel chief, every late night comedian, they're all against Trump. People say, gee, that's interesting. What did this man do so bad? They can't prove any crime. And we had a great economy and a great foreign policy, an anti-war foreign policy, and a fantastic economy. What did this man do so bad? Oh! The morally superior among us who hide their own crimes are going after this man. Interesting. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. Be here in a couple of hours for the upload on the unsealed affidavit search warrant. Thank you so very, very much.